Do you guys remember this?
And Trump's advisors have created a 900-page blueprint of their agenda for a second term. They call it Project 2025.
And this?
I have nothing to do with Project 2025.
And this, where Trump said, I know nothing about Project 2025 and have no idea who's behind it? Well, this is a post that he made today saying he has a meeting with Russ Vought of Project 2025. Kamala Harris was right about everything.
We can't have a woman president. They're too emotional. They'll start a war on their time of the month. Okay, you patron saint of vaginal fucking dryness. Why don't you explain this?
Let's talk
Your
about
elections in this country, we're like a third world country.
Yes, sir.
Your elections are crooked, and you're crooked, and Meet the Press is crooked, and so is ABC, and CBS, and CNN.
But Mr. President,
You're one-sided crooked networks. Right, let's call it quits, because I've had enough. Thank you,
That right there is the garbage, gangrenous glob of fucking dog shit that all of you inbred fucking skid marks said was less emotional than Kamala Harris losing his goddamn mind at the idea of an interviewer asking for evidence of the bullshit claims of election fraud that he was making. And as soon as that Tropicana fucking troglodyte realized she wasn't just gonna roll over and say, yes sir, Mr. President, you won the 2020 election, he throws a goddamn mantrum, turns the color of a fucking cherry tomato, and ends the interview. Very even-keeled. I'm so glad that this guy is the one that's in charge of the fucking nuclear codes during the war that he started. Every accusation is a goddamn confession, and every last one of you cousin-humping motherfuckers that voted for him because women are too emotional to be president need to get fucked.
Y'all mad because she was right? Y'all are mad because Kamala Harris was right. And it's about fucking time she said that shit with her whole goddamn chest. She sat there and she said that at Jesse Jackson's funeral. I ain't want to say it. I ain't want to be right. But I told y'all. She said it there 2 years ago and told y'all dumbasses, and I'm saying these Latinos, these white folks, and these goddamn Asians that put that man in office. She told y'all stupid asses what was going to happen to this country. This country's going to hell in a motherfucking handbasket. Y'all put a fraud in the goddamn office again. A 47-time felon. A grifter. A graper. An SA. You put that in office, you ain't think this country was going to run straight down to hell? Satan, we here. Open the fucking door. And baby, come Texas, y'all sidestepped another black woman. And I'm getting tired of y'all hoes going on the fucking internet talking about we need to come together and fight fascism. Fuck y'all. Let's see how y'all hoes do without us. Y'all gonna stop betting against black women. We got foresight y'all motherfuckers can't see. All right? That is embedded in us. We ain't moving.
Kamala Harris was a prophet. Everything that she predicted Donald Trump would do, he has done in less than 18 months. He has started new wars. He has driven up inflation, not just at home, but global inflation as well. He has driven up energy prices. He is spiraling us into the biggest recession that anyone has ever seen since the Great Depression. So tell me, if you voted for Donald Trump, why exactly was it that you could not put the best interest of yourself, your friends, and neighbors above your misogyny and patriarchy? I'll wait for your answer in the comments.
Donald Trump intends to use the United States military against American citizens who simply disagree with him. People he calls, quote, the enemy from within. America, this is not a candidate for president who is thinking about how to make your life better. This is someone who is unstable, obsessed with revenge, consumed with grievance, and out for unchecked power. Donald Trump intends to take America backward to the failed policies of the past. He has no intention to grow our middle class. He's only interested in making life better for himself and people like himself. You can see it spelled out in his economic agenda. An agenda that gives trillions of dollars in tax cuts to billionaires and the biggest corporations, while raising taxes on the middle class by almost $4,000 a year, slashing overtime pay, throwing tens of millions of Americans off of health care, and cutting Social Security and Medicare. In sum, his agenda would weaken the economy and hurt working people and the middle class.
And once again, Kamala Harris was right about everything. The former vice president warned the American people that Donald Trump would send the military after all of us. And we have seen it clear as day. He sent the National Guard to California. Now the National Guard is here in Washington, D.C., along with other federal agencies, walking around with rifles in hand as though they are in the streets of Baghdad. Next up on the list is Chicago. And Donald Trump is going a step further and creating a special task force within the National Guard that will do the work of what your day-to-day police officer should be doing. All under the disguise of controlling riots and reining in crime. Crime that is at an all-time low across the United States. And the interesting thing about all of this, he's only going after blue states, but completely overlooking the fact that many red states deal with crime also. Again, you just couldn't vote for the black woman, right?
There was one person who predicted all of this and people said she was lying, or that she had Trump derangement syndrome, that she did not know what she was talking about. But it has all come to pass that she was exactly right.
Donald Trump intends to use the United States military against American citizens who simply disagree with him. People he calls, quote, the enemy from within. America, this is not a candidate for president who is thinking about how to make your life better. This is someone who is unstable, obsessed with revenge, consumed with grievance, and out for unchecked power.
And she was 100% right. But she's a woman, she's black. There was one person who predicted all of this and people said she was lying, or that she had Trump derangement syndrome, that she did not know what she was talking about. But it has all come to pass.
Who else agrees that Kamala Harris would have been a better president than Donald Trump? I mean, without a doubt. And that motherfucker even voted by mail. He trying to strip your voting rights away.
On day one, Donald Trump will walk into that office with an enemy's list.
It was almost like Kamala Harris was psychic or something. She was right about everything.
Well, Kamala Harris is right about everything, it seemed, because Trump doesn't know what the hell he's doing. Come on, dumpers.
If this president is thinking about putting us in a position where we're in a war with Iran, the consequences will be absolutely unacceptable and tragic in terms of the young men and women who are American soldiers.
Kamala Harris was right about everything.
Kamala Harris was right about everything.
He will target and punish those who disagree with him or refuse to bend to his will. He calls these Americans the enemy within. he would use the American military to go after American citizens. Journalists whose stories he doesn't like. Nonpartisan election officials who refuse to cheat by finding a few extra votes for him. Judges who insist on following the law instead of following him. It is for reasons like these that General Mark Milley, the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Donald Trump's top general, has called Trump, and I quote, fascist to the core. And it is clear Donald Trump is increasingly unstable and unhinged, and will stop at nothing to claim unchecked power for himself.
The right to do anything I want to do. I'm the President of the United States.
When one of the senior generals who worked directly under Donald Trump uses the word fascist to describe him, that assessment clearly carries a very different weight from criticism coming from a political opponent. General Mark Milley was not making that judgment as an outsider looking in. He served as chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and worked with Trump at one of the highest levels of the U.S. government. He took part in meetings, discussions, and decisions that most members of the public never had the opportunity to witness. So when he makes such a serious assessment, it comes from someone who was inside the system, had access to information at the highest levels, and still reached that conclusion. When a president publicly says that he has the authority to do whatever he wants, that is not simply a controversial remark or a moment of careless rhetoric. It reflects a view of power that runs directly against the foundations of the American constitutional system, where authority is divided and no individual is supposed to stand above the law. Throughout the campaign, Kamala Harris repeatedly emphasized that this was exactly the kind of issue voters needed to take seriously. She warned that in such an administration, personal loyalty to the president could be placed above constitutional responsibility. She also said that the courts, the media, and even the electoral system could come under growing pressure to follow the wishes of the person in the White House. Those who once dismissed such warnings as exaggerated are now being forced to reconsider as similar concerns continue to surface in political life. What is especially notable is that the institutions designed to check and limit government power are often the very institutions at the center of these confrontations. The courts, the press, law enforcement agencies, and institutions connected to elections all serve as safeguards within a democratic system. So when those institutions face sustained pressure, it becomes difficult to view everything as a series of isolated and unrelated events. For those who listened closely to Harris's warnings during the campaign, this is precisely the kind of situation she said could emerge. At this point, the important question for voters may no longer be simply whether those earlier warnings deserve to be taken seriously. The larger question is what accountability will look like from here. What will Congress do? How will the courts respond? To what extent will the press, public institutions, and most importantly, voters themselves, demand accountability from those in power? A democracy cannot depend solely on institutions existing on paper. It also depends on whether people are willing to defend the principles behind those institutions when they are tested. Because if the public only begins to pay attention after limits on power have already been seriously weakened, restoring what has been lost can become far more difficult. History has shown time and again that warning signs are often easy to dismiss when they first appear. By the time the consequences become obvious, society sometimes realizes that it waited too long to act. So what do you think? Were these warnings too easily dismissed by voters and the public? And in the current situation, what should real accountability actually look like? Share your thoughts in the comments below.